Welcome to What It Takes to Own. Today we're going to be learning about how a business owner owns and operates a bike shop and how it ultimately enabled his dreams of racing cars with his son. And today in the seat we have Randy. Randy, thanks for joining us today.
It's an honor.
Appreciate you being here. So tell us about this massive garage that we're in right now. It's a beautiful space. What are all the cars that are in here? What do you got?
Yeah, so welcome to my dream garage. I guess starting with what I've had first, a 2004 BMW M3 was kind of when I first started getting into cars in the early 2000s, discovering sports cars. I don't know exactly why I was drawn to that car, but it was the car that I wanted and couldn't get. I couldn't afford it at the time. Right behind us is my GT3RS. It's 2019. It's the last year that they made this generation. That car, a couple decades later, was the new dream car that things came together just right for, and I was able to get that. And it's really the pinnacle of kind of the car that you could mess with it, but doesn't make sense because it's almost perfect as it is.
It's pretty dialed as is.
Very dialed as it is.
And we have these other two cars behind us here that are a little bit more strappy than the other two behind us.
Yeah, so they started life as street cars, Nissan 370Zs, and were converted to race cars. The white car was actually raced professionally by a team and has a couple of national championships under its belt as well. And the red car was built to as kind of not a replica, but kind of in the series of a couple of these cars that were built. And so my son and I are racing together, and that's kind of been a dream as well.
You said that you started getting into sports cars in your 20s, and that was something that was starting to get more fascinating to you. What was the moment that started it all for you?
I think I've always just been fascinated and drawn to things with wheels, things that have motors, things that go and can go fast and speed. In my teens, I got into mountain biking, which ultimately became my livelihood. And later in my 20s, I discovered sports cars, kind of street cars, tuner cars, a lot of Japanese type stuff in the early days. Next thing you know, I had a race car and a racing license and a whole bunch of friends, and we were traveling and racing, and it was a ton of fun. But that had to take a pause for a while to let life happen and kids grow up and things like that. A couple of years ago, the dream came back to reality when I was able to, with my son Mason, get these cars and get him a competition license, and we're off to the races again.
That's amazing. Do you guys race together at the same time, like on the track together?
Yeah.
Do you guys talk a lot of trash back and forth?
Not yet, not yet. That'll come, I'm sure. He's still trying to get his racing pace under him, and he's just new, like one event fresh, having his competition license. Okay. But it's been really fun to see him go through the progression and the different levels and practices and things like that to get to the point where he's at now. And so it'll just be cool to see him keep progressing.
So which of these cars would you say is your favorite or is most special to you at this point in time?
That's a tough question because I think they're all my most favorite in their unique ways. Right now, I think the one I'm having the most fun with is the White Z. Mm-hmm. Getting back into racing cars is just so fun. And I love that it's just a purpose-built car. It's a little rough around the edges, but it goes fast, and it holds together under immense abuse, which is awesome. But I think the GT3RS is kind of my come home from a stressful day, unwind, go for a drive up the canyon. It gets people's attention. I love it when people wave.
Absolutely.
Or hold their camera out their window or whatever. It's that type of car, and that part's cool, but the driving experience, the noises that it makes, the smell of the inside, I just love that about it.
Absolutely.
And I hope all that stuff stays forever and lasts.
That's something that's very special about this type of 911 as well, the racing variants and some of the more aggressive ones. I feel like people that aren't even into cars that much will see something like that and be able to appreciate it because it stands out that much. It feels so precise, almost surgical even in their designs. Have you done any modifications to the cars outside of this one that's pretty stripped down for racing purposes? Have you done any sort of performance mods, or talk to us about that?
So on the GT3RS, no. The only thing it has is a center muffler just to add some, sound. Everything else is stock. The Zs, surprisingly, they're stock in the sense of powertrain. We run in a power to weight class, and so we're pretty regulated. The cars are light, without fuel and without a driver, they're about 2,800 pounds. But they can't really make any more power, or else we'd be in different classing. But completely stripped out, all the safety equipment's in there. Really a lot of modifications to the brakes and the suspension to make them more robust and rugged and be able to handle all the stress and abuse. But on the M3, that one's been kind of a fun car to play with and try to enhance. But one thing I've learned is that some modifications actually are worse. Some things make the driving experience less enjoyable. So I've gone through stages where I've thought, I want to make it more hardcore and put in things like, stiffer bushings and things like that. But then it makes all this extra noise and it's harsher and things like that.
That's one thing that I appreciate about just the engineering that goes into cars like this, is that there's so much intentionality of why they did certain things, why they put so much power into a block, or why they made it sound a certain way. That makes me a little reluctant or hesitant to do modifications to cars that I have. But at the same time, being able to squeeze out just a few hundred more horsepower or something like that is always enticing.
It's neat, yeah. So the M3 is supercharged, so it's got a bit more power. It's got coilover suspension and upgraded brakes, and I've tried upgrading this and that here and there, and like I said, some of it makes it worse, and I've taken off, and it's just fun to play with it and see how a modification does or doesn't improve it.
Absolutely.
So,
have there been any surprises about owning these cars? Things that you didn't really anticipate when you were buying them or sort of looking into getting them? Walk us through that.
The German cars, the maintenance is expensive. It's expensive. I will say it's probably a bargain compared to Italian cars, but still on the Porsche, it's, maintenance can be expensive.
What kind of expensive? Like, give us a ballpark of an oil change, something that's pretty standard.
So an oil change, even though I love to drive this car, I just don't drive it enough to actually go the recommended, maintenance routine. So you're always doing that stuff early and as preventative. So kind of for the annual simple oil change, you're probably $500. But when you do, like, the car doesn't have 20,000 miles on it, but let's say you do the 20,000 mile service, I think that was probably around $6. And so as you keep stacking on those maintenances, even though you don't have the miles for it, it can be pretty expensive.
Totally.
To get in there and do the spark plugs, you have to take off the whole rear, bumper cover and a whole bunch of parts. A lot of the time spent is disassembly to get to where you need to on the sides of the motor.
Absolutely.
To work on it. The M3, I don't know that it's necessarily as expensive to maintain, but for whatever reason, it seems to need more maintenance. It's just one of those cars that you plug a leak here and another one starts there, and it just kind of always has something going on with it. And it could be partly its age. But BMWs are known to leak a little bit here.
I was going to say, if you want to say something controversial and get everybody all fired up about BMW versus Porsche, be my guest. But overall, would you say owning these has been a pleasant experience overall? Like, you're not wishing you had got something else or anything like that?
Yeah, I as I look back on it, I can't think of much that I would have done different. They've all been a great experience. They're all unique in their own way. I love the M3 for the manual transmission. The Porsche has PDK. That's the only way it comes, but I wouldn't get it any other way because it's amazing. But no, I just wish I had a way to figure out how to have more time to drive them all.
That's totally fair. I'd feel the same way every time I go into my garage. I see my Aston Martin Vantage parked right there, and I'm like, I have to go to the office today. I can't go cut it up in the canyon. So totally feel you on that. But is there anything that stands out to you that would be maybe the downsides or the less exciting, less good things about owning cars like this that people might not know about?
Sometimes I'll make mention to my wife, hey, I've been kind of looking at this car. Honestly, one of the next cars that I'd love to have My dad passed away in 2021. And when I was young, and when he was done with high school and when I was young, he drove a Firebird. And I'm not really a classic car guy, but I kind of would really like to have a replica of his car.
Yeah.
And I think that would be one of the coolest things. And so kind of as I bring that up to my wife, she's like, no, you're out of garage space. So that would kind of
There's always room for more.
Yeah, it's
in my
something to figure out, I guess. But that would kind of be a downside is these cars, certainly aren't daily drivers. And so having the space to store them, that can be a challenge. But as far as the ownership and, I knew going into it kind of what maintenance would be like. And I was ready to accept that, I think.
Absolutely.
So.
You mentioned the Firebird that you would possibly get into as an homage to your dad. Is there anything else that you've thought about adding to the collection?
I mean, I'd love to be able to just get every new generation of Porsche GT car, but that's a little bit unrealistic for me.
Especially right now. Those prices seem to keep climbing and climbing for the new RS variants.
It's a tricky game that you've got to play with the dealership to be on the list to actually be able to get an allocation for one.
You don't want to buy 5 Macans in order to be able to get the new 3RS.
Or Taycans.
Yeah, exactly.
Buy 5 of the cars nobody wants to be able to get the one you want. I don't know. I'm always dreaming.
As you should.
But then reality comes back in. It's like, okay, well, even if I got another one, I'm for sure not getting rid of these. When am I going to drive that? So that brings me back to reality usually.
Totally. Well, good on you for being somebody that's actually driving your cars and is sensible about how much time you actually have to go out and drive these things. I think that takes strength, honestly. So with all these cars behind us, I got to know, how much have you spent getting this garage to the point that it is now?
Well, with the M3, I bought it used. I bought it with around 80,000 miles on it. And I think at the time they were in the low, $10,000, $12,000 range. Mm-hmm. I've probably spent in the $35,000 range just playing with it, modifications, not including maintenance stuff, to get it where it's at today.
Yeah.
The GT3RS, I purchased used. It had about 2,400 miles on it, I think. And at the time, I think I paid around $235,000 for it.
Gotcha.
Fortunately, those cars seem to appreciate in value. And so today they're trading for a bit higher than that.
It's a good investment.
Yeah.
See everybody out there, you can't say that buying cars is a bad idea, right?
Right. If you do it the right way. I didn't finance any of these. And so I strongly believe in delayed gratification. And
yes,
there's something really special about being able to save up and really make sure that is your dream and that's what you want. And it's a lot more, there's a lot more satisfaction, I think, when you know it's yours and not the bank's.
I completely agree.
If you were to take a street car and do everything that's done to these to make it a race car, you're probably in the $200,000 range. When you buy them kind of retired, kind of used, you get a significant discount. So I think we're into the race cars about $40,000 each.
Gotcha.
So
running total off the top of your head, add it all up.
So what is that, in the mid 300-ish range?
And they're all paid off.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Good on you. I love to see that. A big part of my content and the message I'm trying to put out there is that there's a responsible way to fund the things that you're doing in the passions that you have, and specifically with cars and exotic cars. And I preach very often that you've got to stay away from making brash decisions. And I think being financially responsible and being able to have a garage like this while being responsible is super commendable.
Yeah, thanks. And it goes back to, like, if you had this hefty loan on it, or if you were leasing it, and then you have all the maintenance on it, then you have something go wrong with it, man, you're so behind the curve at that point that it's just really hard to really love it and enjoy it.
So how did you find yourself in a position to be able to afford cars like this? What's your career path? What was your business?
So career path started in high school. I was 15 years old. had just bought my first really nice mountain bike with money that I had saved up, and ended up getting a job at the bike shop that I now own. Worked through high school. I had work release. I was the manager at the store as a senior in high school. And the business had changed hands. We had a new owner. And my wife, Emily, and I, we got married right after high school. We were young 18-year-old kids. And as young 20-year-old kids, my boss said, "Hey, I think I'm going to sell the company." We had talked, wouldn't it be cool someday to own our own bike shop or whatever? And so we tried to figure it out. We ended up going the path of getting an SBA loan after a long period of trying to figure things out and being turned down for this or that or whatever. So we purchased our company in 2001, and we've owned it, operated it since. And we've, broken off into some other small things, real estate and some other things since. But I like to say I've got a doctorate in the School of Hard Knocks.
Okay.
Because I didn't go to any college. I didn't spend any time studying that way. It was all just hands-on. Oops, we did it the wrong way. We learned our lesson. It's been a lot of ups and downs. We went through a couple of really devastating periods where we almost lost the company. And we actually did a complete reset. We sold our house to pay the company off. We sold cars, we sold everything, and we downsized and we just reset. And we built everything back up in a much more responsible way. And since then, things have just been awesome. As we've had booms in our industry, we've been able to enjoy that. As we've had busts, we've been able to weather the storm because of how we prepared for it. It's been a lot of hard work, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, but I wouldn't change any of it. I wouldn't change, the long hours, the stressful things you deal with employees and customers and things like that. It's all, looking back on it, it's all been amazing. Luckily, we've been able to do some fun things along the way, and it's really, fun to have this passion to be a car enthusiast and be able to enjoy it this way.
Absolutely. You got me motivated and all fired up. I'm like, okay, time to get back to work. Let's go. So that's amazing, though. So you started off with something that you were passionate about with mountain biking, and it eventually evolved into a job, and then you had an opportunity to pursue a full career in business ownership over that.
Yeah.
Are you somebody that believes that passion and work can be intertwined and can grow simultaneously?
Yeah, I think delicately. I mean, my passion that became my livelihood also became something that I hated for a period of time, which was really sad to go through that phase. But if you take your passion, the thing that's great about that is that something that you're probably already an expert in, just through personal interest and study and things like that. And so I think that it can grow simultaneously together. You just have to be careful to nurture both sides of it. Keep it your passion, but also understand what it takes to make the business side of it, your livelihood side of it, be successful.
Totally. You mentioned some of the headwinds that you faced and the downturns that happened in your industry. What were some of those? What was the timing like? What did you walk away with afterwards that made you a better business owner because of it?
Yeah, good question. So probably the biggest one was early on as a young business owner, just not completely understanding. I knew how to run the day-to-day, but I also didn't have the experience to understand the downturns and how big and how much that can affect you financially or with employees, things like that. So one of the hardest ones was we were on a really good growth trajectory, and in that period, we had taken over a competitor's space. We didn't buy them out; they went out of business, but we kind of moved in after they left. So we were operating 2 physical locations, And we thought, oh, it's time. Our main store was in a smaller space. It's time to grow. And so we moved into a space that was 4 times larger. And along with that came more than 4 times the overhead. That was 2008. And so even though our revenue went way up, our expenses went way up, and it just wasn't a sustainable situation. So it took us a long time to kind of unravel that, figure things out, and get back to a healthier situation.
Was that around the same time that you guys did the total reset and downsized and started everything from the ground up again?
That was the time. Yeah. So that was probably between 2009 and 2010 when that all happened.
Do you take moments like this that happen in life as a moment of learning, or do you face an obstacle like that and you start to wonder what the purpose of this hard thing that's happening is, or do you always have this mindset of like whatever happens will ultimately be for the better result?
That's a great question. Thank you. And that, it touches a chord with me because that was a very personal experience that I went through with. I completely believe that was God, my Heavenly Father, putting me through the refining fire to prepare me for future things that would come. And I'm fortunate to have my best friend as my wife and my biggest supporter, my biggest cheerleader. And between, what I now look back on as God teaching me and preparing me, along with my wife propping me up through all that, it's a time that I look back on as a hardship, but also as probably one of my strongest defining moments, building a foundation of strength, both spiritually, mentally, physically, all that. And, it helped me to be able to see the good things in the bad times as well, which has been really valuable because sometimes there's just days that you don't want to do what you do. But to be able to kind of like look through it all and find the good things out of it is what keeps me going.
I think that's so critical to people finding success in their day-to-day life, or if they're reaching for a goal in any particular field. Because there's going to be days where you are winning and you are dominating, you are successful, and those are easy days. Anybody can survive those ones because it feels great. But ultimately, when you're the one that has to pick yourself back up after something super serious and difficult happens, I feel that's what really separates people that do find success or do reach that extra step that they're trying to take, because it's hard to sit with discomfort and it's hard to sit with the unpleasantness of what is perceived failure,
Yep, indeed.
What was motivating you on a day-to-day basis to expand and grow your empire?
I think a lot of what motivates me is just being able to provide what I didn't have for my wife and my kids. And so if that's my foundation, all of this is just extra.
What is the thing that you appreciate most about your work today?
I would say just being at a point where I'm decades into it, which is weird to say, and just knowing that everything's going to be okay. Being able to, I guess, be past the point of everything is stressful. Being able to sleep good at night, not being stressed about all the fine details is a lot different than when we started.
Is there anything else that you aspire to do in your career? Like, what's the next thing that you're reaching for and trying to chase career-wise?
Good question, because I don't know that I have the answer to that. I always have dreams that I'm going to have some awesome entrepreneurial idea or experience and be able to, graduate out of what I do day to day into something else. But I would like to do something that is less operator type work like I do now. So real estate is really attractive. It's, doing that the way that I've done this is harder. That's not the way people usually do it. And so it's a lot slower process to do that. But I think that's what my passion would be is having assets like real estate.
Gotcha. What kind of real estate?
I think commercial is the most attractive. Right now, like flex commercial space is really popular. My son is doing he's starting his entrepreneurial life while helping us manage our business. And he's got a couple of residential rental properties. And I'm less interested in that. That's a lot more hands-on and than operating commercial spaces. So maybe apartment complexes, but like retail strip mall type stuff is what I know, because that's what we do right now.
Well, Randy, you've given some amazing answers. Super appreciate you taking the time. I would love it if you could give 30 seconds of wisdom, insights, whatever you want the audience to take away with them from this episode today. The floor is yours.
Yes. I would just circle back to, really understanding what your passions are. Don't be really impulsive about buying a supercar. Be forward thinking in the sense that the me sitting here today is really grateful to the me of the 2000s that learned the hard lessons and went through the trials, became a more patient person, and is able to reap the benefits of that today. My wife is my biggest supporter, and I'm so grateful for that. I feel like our life goals are to make each other's dreams come true, and that's been the greatest thing, to have her support me racing cars and pretending she's excited about it is really cool.
Well, this has been What It Takes to Own, and now you know what it takes to own a fleet of race cars and European exotics as well. Now, if you want to stay in the loop and know what's going on my page, be sure to follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Piff Garage, and you're following me now on YouTube because you're smart, and you're gonna see more interviews like this coming very, very soon. Randy, where can they keep up with you? Where do you want them to go after this?
Probably Instagram, RG801. And then I've got a small YouTube channel where I'm just posting race car videos for friends and family, whoever wants to go watch those.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone.